yeah, so I'm a staff software engineer at Medium. I've been working here since August of 2022. So that's 2 years now. And I work on the publishing team, which I'll give a little context for later. If you can, so this we're gonna be in here together for a while. Uh, Go ahead and uh, say hello. Thanks for everybody that's joined so far. Share uh, where you're joining from and maybe like where you're at in your professional journey. I know that we've got plenty of software engineers here, as well as people from other professions and those that are just interested in the platform in general. So I am from Portland, Oregon, and am am joining here just freshly off a trip back to the East Coast and recovering a little bit from that. But yeah, this chat should be pretty laid back. Um, we'll get to an interactive session at the end. If you have any questions during the time, please drop it in the chat. I'll try to get to it while we're chatting. But if not, we'll have a lot of time at the end to go back through it. I'm going to go over a history of Medium as it relates to product engineering, just to give us some context for some of the decisions that we've made as engineers. Um, I'll explain the current structure of Medium and its product engineering team, and kind of how that has led us to make some of the decisions that we've made recently, like the recent announcement that was made about the country expansion, which has been a big deal for my team. Um, I'll, in order to make that a little more concrete, I'd like to go through in detail like how some of the ideas get brought up and come from like all the way from an idea that an individual has uh, to actually being released to the platform. And yeah, after that, we'll just have some Q&A. So I'm here as your peer, uh, and hopefully have some knowledge that you might be interested in. Okay, let's jump into it. Uh, Again, along the way, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on it, um, but I'll certainly spare some time at the end. Okay. So Medium is a 12-year-old company. Uh, we were founded primarily by Ev, who also co-founded Blogger and Twitter. He's got plenty of articles out there explaining his reasoning for starting Medium, trying to establish this uh, place on the internet for humans to share stories and be a sustainable place. Um, Building a sustainable product has challenges. It requires profitability. It requires uh, a really good engineering team. And Medium really got close to what he envisioned as that effective place, that effective product for human sharing stories. He left like right before I joined in 2022, and Tony became the CEO like a month before I joined in August. So I've actually never met F, which is unique in um, among my coworkers. But it gives me a unique perspective. It limits me a little bit, but does give me a unique perspective to talk about Tony and kind of the future of Medium. Uh, Before Tony joined, before November of 2022, most of the engineering team's history was spent uh, being divided into platform teams. I mean, there were some various iterations of this, but as far as I can gather, uh, it was a pretty consistent platform team division. So you'd have your web engineers and your mobile engineers and your backend engineers, and from them, uh, product would gather engineers from each platform bring them together to implement a feature and effectively release them back to their platform team. When a new feature was ready to be worked on, you would then gather more engineers, work on that feature and release them back. But each of those features was not necessarily worked on by the same group of engineers, even if those features were related. That's distinct from the concept of durable teams, which we started in November 2022. So a little more, I forgot to mention this, a little more context for when Tony joined. Medium, well, let me get back to that in a second. Sorry, this is a pretty laid back presentation, so no big deal. Okay. The context that for the durable teams in November 2022, in this meeting right here, here's a picture from that meeting. I was like fresh. This is the literally day one of me meeting the entire team. And here's me. I'm just like sitting right up front. I don't really know. But it was a terrifying experience being there. But it was also, I mean, it was neat. Tony announced that we are, Tony along with Brianna and Buster announced that we are transitioning from whatever we're doing to permanently durable teams. And those durable teams are specifically the publishing team, the membership team, and the distribution team. The reason for these three teams, and the reason I'm showing this is because this really impacts the future of engineering at Medium. The reason for these three teams is Medium at its core, like technically it is it's a blogging platform. It's not like all that complicated to store text, display it when someone requests it. But the actual things that set Medium apart, that like turn Medium from just like any other CMS to an actual place on the internet where humans can thrive, is it belong in these three groups. So publishing team is responsible for the partner program, which I'll get more into, and publications. These things make the writer's experience on Medium distinct and more healthy than other platforms. Membership works on paywalls and is responsible for paywalls, which again, Medium doesn't run ads. So this sets Medium apart as a product. Distribution, I think I forgot to add this, but the giant thing that distribution works on is the curation and the ranking. Curation and recommendations. This is, man, there's just so much to talk about. The curation that we do, and this is all documented. You can read this on like the Medium blog, but the curation that we do is by humans. So these things that Medium has elected to do set Medium apart as a product. And so we want to focus on those areas that make us unique and that make us special. So we've organized Medium in order to do that. On each durable team, we've got some product managers, one or two, I think, for every team. A couple of designers, one EM that's over the engineering team there. We have 3 QA engineers in the company, and so there are three durable teams, so we just have assigned one to each of them. And then a handful of IC engineers. And this is one of them. This is me. I'm one of them. Okay. Durable teams. So let me pause real quick. There is one single question. I am going to answer this live. What is let's see. What is the best method for feature suggestions? I am going to say that this is a thing you should just post on Medium or maybe DM me on LinkedIn. I have links in my Medium bio for that. Okay, thanks. Okay, back on track. So the durable teams were announced in November of 2022. And one of the very first things that we were then presented with was this problem. Oh, let me zoom in. That is way small. Let's make that really big. Problem, medium is not healthy. Did I get the Y on that? Health. Healthy. Cool. Let me go back to that chart that we were just looking at, and let's talk about medium not being healthy. Okay. Again, this is knowledge that should be common knowledge. It's generally available to everybody. Medium right now is almost profitable, and that's really exciting. But right when Tony joined, we were not. And a 12-year-old company, 10-year-old at that time, that's not profitable is a problem. So this not profitable and getting worse is what we would consider unhealthy. So we were given this problem. The entire company was given this problem. One of the problems with this is it is very ambiguous. Medium not being healthy, yeah, that's a problem, but like, what do we do about that? And that's where the power of durable teams comes in. So because we have durable teams, one of the benefits of it is each individual on a durable team, like me as a member of the publishing team, I get to be an expert and an evangelist of the publishing experience on Medium, the writer experience on Medium. So even me as a software engineer, like I get to understand really deeply what writers need, what makes the writing experience on Medium different, distinct, and better than the writing experience on other platforms. And I get to solve problems on Medium for the writer's experience. So when we talk about Medium not being healthy, my job then becomes, well, what makes the writer experience on Medium healthy is the question that we ask. And the things that I mentioned before that set Medium apart for writers is really the partner program and publications. And this is what our team has been focused on. I mean, we have released some updates to stats. We've released some updates to the editor since that time, but the largest changes have been in the partner program and in publications. Just to give everybody some context, because I know that not everybody here is intimately familiar with the platform. The partner program is Medium's mechanism for paying writers. We don't run ads. Our revenue comes from subscription memberships, and we pay writers from those subscription memberships. That incentivizes writers to write more high quality content, and it ideally provides a really good experience for those readers that pay us. That's the partner program. So, yeah, I'm gonna slow down here. This is what I want to get into, and it'll be like a long spiel. So what I'm about to get into is like, we made a huge change to the partner program last year, and I'd like to talk about exactly like the mechanics of how that change came to be. Any questions before I do that? Awesome. Okay. So durable teams are separate. Other durable teams, let me just give a little bit of perspective. Other durable teams asked a separate question. So like, what makes the writer experience healthy was our question. The membership team, similar question. What makes the reader experience healthy? And they've worked on things. We have offline reading. We have a much more robust uh, uh, accessibility support on the platform. But that's not, I mean, that is somebody's responsibility. Our responsibility on our team is to focus on the writer's experience. So because we're allowed to do that, because we have the space and the task to focus on writers, we really can dive deep into like the partner program. So this is what happened. Buster, a PM on the publishing team, reaches out to me, an individual on the publishing team. This is significant because this isn't a random PM and a random engineer talking. This is a PM who is an expert at the writer experience, talking to an engineer who's an expert at the writer experience. And Buster says, I think that we can really improve the partner program. And he had done his homework and found that he told me, like, hey, we're paying out of the partner program, like a lot of the money is going to high quality stories, but it seems like we also have quite a bit of money going to clickbait stories, which don't satisfy readers. That's not how we want to incentivize writers. Like, this is something that we can improve in the partner program. And we saw these effects. Like, before I joined Medium, I saw the effects of this. So like, if zooming out again, going back to this, like this is 2021, 2022 Medium. Like, when I thought of Medium, I thought of like, it has potential. I know there are good things on there, but a lot of the content that I see is like, it promises a lot, but it doesn't deliver. It's kind of clickbaity. And we can fix that from the writer's side. Like, of course, the distribution team has been working on that, and they've done a phenomenal job too. But we as the publishing team can also work on addressing that. We don't feel good about sending money, like distributing money like this. We would rather like have more of the money that we pay writers to go to really high quality content that we're really proud to pay for. So, but we can't just like do that. We can't just like fairly restrict money from people if they're actually generating, like valid engagement on the platform. So we looked into it. We found that both of us are new to the concept of implementing the partner program technically, so we had to do research. We found that the partner program runs using these pipelines that track events on Medium and like engagement events. And the partner program in its current iteration in 2022 was prioritizing total time read. Oh, okay, there we go. So the partner program in 2022 prioritizing total time read, and the way it was doing that was with this, it effectively, the entire partner program was calculated using like a select the post ID and the sum of the read time from the user post engagements group by post ID. This was like, this is not very far different from like how the partner program calculation actually worked. And it's a valid model. It's a valid way to pay for user engagements. The issue with it was that we found that the output of this led to like posts that generate a lot of traffic without necessarily being high quality, without necessarily like fulfilling their promise, would get paid excessively. And the posts that were high quality, that required sometimes a little more thinking from the reader, would not. And they just would not be able to get paid. And so this was not a thing that we were proud of. So Buster reaches out to me. I was actually in San Francisco at the time, so we met up, and I think we met up. This is like a year and a half ago. We might have just been on Zoom, but uh, I'll say we met up and decided let's go ahead and iterate on this. Like it's just a SQL query. Let's write a second model and see if we can do better. So we one of the very first ones was let's just see if claps are a better indicator of quality. Like does the output of like does where the money goes if we prioritize claps over total time read, is that better? So we just wrote the SQL query, select post ID, sum of claps from user post engagements, group by post ID. We found actually this, so this was, let me see, prioritize claps. We found that the output of this was worse. It was like, and it was not just a little bit worse. It was like we started bringing in all this bot content and some spam, and it was not good. So we decided let's scrap that. We ended up going through, I want to say it was close to 24 different iterations before we settled on the current model, which Buster has outlined like pretty clearly. I'll even pull it up. Let's go. Sorry, Buster, to just like totally expose you right here. But yeah, this is on the Medium blog. This is the algorithm we wrote together. So obviously the SQL is a little more complex than this, but that it came out because we kept iterating on like on this model and decided that like our guiding star would be how like what was the ratio of payments toward high quality versus, we actually bucket this a little bit more than that. So like we have high quality um, average, which again is like split out into more. We've got like spam and etc. clickbait. And so our goal was get this bucket very large. Uh, Also pay people for content that was good. Maybe wasn't like top tier, but we do want to pay them. And then we want to get payments to spam as low as possible, payments to clickbait as low as possible. And this model that, I didn't even include the model up here, but the model that Buster has shared in that post ended up accomplishing this really well. And in fact, we literally just yesterday reviewed. So we review every month the output, like where the money goes. And based on this yesterday, like we're up at like we're pushing like 95% of the partner program money going to stuff that we're like we know that it's going to the place where we want it to go. And that was not the case before. Before it was like I don't want to say any numbers because I don't remember what it was, but that was a solution that we found that has dramatically improved the quality of content that is paywalled, and therefore like dramatically improved the experience for the readers and the writers on Medium. That only came about because of this durable team model. Like because we're allowed to, not just Buster as a product manager, but like all of the members of the durable team can come together and like focus on the writer experience. Okay, so we developed this model. We were like, we think it's going to work. So what ends up happening is we bring in the rest of the team. We say, hey, Buster and Jacob, we've been working on this model. We've been researching it, and we think that this is actually something that we could do. What like does anybody else have any input or insight? And the whole team says like, yeah, let's do it. We also bring in this discussion like Tony will come in, probably Luke, who I don't know if he's as well like publicized as Tony, but he's involved in most of the product decisions. So they come in and they're like, yeah, this fits in the roadmap. Like, let's fix this part of the partner program. This totally fits with the problem medium is not healthy. And we do it. So then the entire team is like, we prioritize this project. We swarm on improving the partner program along with other stuff. I mean, there's like the thing that Buster and I did happens again and again with Buster and another engineer, with Ariel and another engineer, or with Ariel and a designer. Like, this is the durable team. The power of the durable team is we can go and explore things without like risking the entire team's time and energy. So, okay. So it was successful. I mean, we got from that like most of the money going to places that we don't want it to go to now very like most the very large majority of the money going to like a place that we are proud of. So, okay. Okay, that's the durable team. And that's I want to emphasize that that is how Medium operates everywhere. That's that same process is repeated hundreds of times a year, at possibly thousands, at different scales all across Medium. And that is how we work, how we do product engineering. Okay. That I kept this really high level because the nature of this audience and the nature of this like presentation format is very like it's one-sided. I'm not really sure where you're at technically, but we can get into much more technical details. So, okay. With that, let me get to the chat. Let me get to questions. If you have questions and you want me to go more in depth on one of these concepts or another concept about Medium, let me know. I do have a few questions that I will get to right now. Okay, I got a question. Do you have data scientists in the team or do engineers build these models? So one of the things that we did initially when I was in San Francisco was we pulled out me and Buster, and there was actually one other person that was in this conversation, Gustavo, who is our head data scientist. We have a pretty I don't know if everybody knows this, but like we don't have a very large team. We're like 84 people across the whole company, something like that. So right now, this is our data science team, like Gustavo is, and so he is pulled in so many directions, and so what Buster and I had to do was become like small experts in our little area of data science, with the help of Gustavo, with consultations from him. But most of this was us running things by him and him giving some feedback, but Buster and I hacking away on the earnings model. Okay. Does the customer care and trust group give feedback based on what writers share? Yes, that's like almost all they do. Well, no, they do a lot more, but I don't know if a day has gone by since I've been working here that I haven't gotten feedback from trust, and they roll up into a team we call user happiness, and they are constantly like monitoring. Like, of course, they have an inbox, like a support inbox that users can write into, but they'll constantly ping like our team, the publishing team, for writer issues, writer questions, and feature requests. And it's we have a pretty active chat with them. So let me make sure that I answer this question. Does the customer care and trust group give feedback based on what writers share? Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. And the way that feedback gets to us, like obviously, like we have Slack, and those request, like that feedback gets directly to us, very often that feedback will be turned into an actual work item that gets prioritized. And I mean, sometimes, like we have millions of users, and so we try to get to what we know will make the biggest net impact. But sometimes there are like smaller user bases that really do feel an impact, that we will prioritize first. Okay. What is the tech stack of Medium? Good question. Uh let me That's a big question. Let's talk about it. Okay. The tech stack of Medium. I mean, we've got let's see. A number of presentations, like Richard just gave a presentation um an hour ago where he described cost savings. Great presentation. You should go watch the recording. But he talked about like most of our services are hosted on AWS. We have the basic like 2-minute rundown is we have this JavaScript monolith that we have. Let me actually just name this. We've named it Medium 2 because it is the second iteration of the JavaScript monolith. That is, I don't want to give a percentage for how much of our work goes there. We also have, let me say, we have these Go microservices that we have more recently. I say more recently, like more recently than M2. M2 is years old. These Go microservices are fewer years old, and generally any new service we will like put into this. So the Go microservices, I mean, that contains maybe 30 or 40 different little microservices in there. Of course, we run, this is all running in Kubernetes. We do have Kafka that acts as an event system between everything. We also have other event systems for different types of events. Like we use Kinesis for some background things to go to Snowflake. We also have like, let me just make this smaller. I'm like listing out a bunch of this without actually explaining any architecture. But like SES or SQS and SNS for queue-based systems. And yeah, all this runs in Kubernetes. This runs beside it. Yeah, I think that's a good. If you ask me my tech stack, I think that this is what I would initially start with. And architecture can come down the line. There you go. Curious about the challenges, problems of your current organization structure often changes because any choice leaves certain areas that don't work as well. Okay. Good. One of the challenges that we have from my perspective, in the durable teams is there are some things that don't have clear, obvious ownership. And Medium's really good because we do promote a culture of, like, Medium does a really good job at promoting a culture of like individual ownership over problems. But that what ends up happening is like I say that because there are rarely problems that I see that get dropped. What usually ends up happening is a problem or a product feature will be like ambiguously shared between multiple teams. Like I'll give you an example. Search is if like the Medium search feature needs a little bit of love, and the distribution team currently owns that, but they also own one of the most complex parts of the stack, which is recommendations. So what we have done is like we're our team is trying to work on the writer experience of uh, uh, finding publications to write for, and we're utilizing the search feature to do that, which right now, like, you can't use the search feature to find publications to write for right now. So we're fixing that. Like, we're improving that. We're actively working on it, but search doesn't belong to us. It belongs to distribution. So that's like one little example, but one of the biggest challenges of the current iteration of durable teams is that, like, sort of ambiguous, like, the reader experience is kind of everybody's problem, and the writer experience is also kind of everybody's problem. So it is sometimes difficult to figure out, like, if a thing needs to be prioritized, who's prioritizing it and what other things are getting deprioritized to do it. When testing these alternative models, what was the data set size? Like, did you run 10 plus millions of stories to validate the payments distribution? And how do you monitor model accuracy in production? Do you monitor model drift? So the I think that I understand what you're asking, and I will answer it by saying, like, this is not a let me be very clear about this is like a dumb, in the like scientific sense, um a dumb SQL query that generates an output that is, for this post on this day, it earned these many cents. Uh, that query only takes like 8 minutes to run. And so our modeling was, let's adjust the query, let's run it against the entire data set. From Usually we would do like the previous month, because all of the earnings for that month had already finished. So we'd change the model. We'd say, like, we were doing total time read. Let's try out claps and see, like, let's run it against last month and see, did the theoretical money that we would have paid out, would that have gone to uh, higher quality writers, or would that have gone to clickbait writers that are just trying to, like, engagement farm? So that was the process for how we did those models, and we saved lots of the iterations. Some are so bad that we just didn't save them. We just wrote down that doing something like that wouldn't work. But we still have a history of most of the models there, and we do track, like, we have a dashboard. Kind of, we use Mode, but that's like, Power BI or Google Looker or whatever. We have a Mode dashboard that tracks, like, this thing, the like, where the money goes every month, and we can see over time. I would love to share it, I just can't. But we can see over time that the money going to high quality stories is constantly trending up, and the money that's going to stories that we don't like is constantly trending down, which is exactly what we want. Okay. Richard, hello. Tons of AWS services. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So I mentioned Richard's presentation. He did go over my very first project at Medium, which was fascinating. Ended up being a ton of cost savings, and that really helped. I mean, that was like a significant um, step into getting this up. Like, the cool thing about Medium only being 80 something people is every individual can have a pretty outsized impact on the platform in the company. Okay. Can you send me a link to a Medium article about the Medium tech stack and architecture? Would love to know more. Absolutely. In fact, all of the technical information about the Medium tech stack can be found on the engineering blog. medium.engineering. I am pretty sure the last time that we thoroughly discussed the architecture was probably Eddie's post. Let me just double check. Yeah, I mean, there's some references to some architecture. Eddie's post about Kubernetes infrastructure had some architecture in it, but I think it would be worth writing a new post about like the overall architecture at Medium. So um I don't want to necessarily commit to like doing that by a certain timeline, but that is something that I'll add to my to-do list is um getting a post out there uh about the Medium architecture. Yeah. If you had unlimited resources in hiring, tools, etc., what would you change, if anything? Uh wow. Um that's tough. Uh so I talked about like the tech stack of Medium. Um let me mention a couple things here. So the M2 JavaScript monolith, we often refer to this as like we put a label on this that we call it legacy. The problem with that is that implies that like it's old and wrong to some extent. But that's not like we learned so much from that code base. Um, and we like refuse to do a rewrite because it's like all of the learnings that we have from that. Like me again, I mentioned at the beginning of this that Medium at its core is like you write an article and you post it like that. Like WordPress does that, like Substack does that. It's not complicated. The the complicated parts of Medium are like getting those publications to be a product that people love, getting the partner program to operate in over 100 countries, um, getting like the curation tool, which has humans in the back end and not an algorithm, to be an effective ranking. Um, those parts of Medium are so valuable, and I think that the biggest change that I would like to see happen is like this legacy thing go away, the legacy label go away. Um, sure, we can migrate some functionality out of here because it is like this is a difficult it's a difficult project to maintain. But um I would like to see with unlimited time and resources us be able to focus more on like getting more into this and taking more advantage of the learnings that happened here. We also, I mean, we do have like there's just so much to do that I of course I would love a couple more backend engineers to work with me and a couple more front end engineers to help out with the design. We just hired a head of design and uh, would love to have more resources to help with that. But like the reality is that in order for Medium to like be around forever, which is good for everybody, like we have to we have to like retain this in our mind that and then like engineering decisions have to retain this in our mind. Like profitability is relevant to engineering decisions. And Medium is either like I mean, I don't know, it's August 17th. We might be profitable now. We might be barely under. I am not positive, but we're really close. And so the discussion really is like how do we make this sustainable? And I think that the right answer to that is we have limited resources and we need to like make sure that we're doing a phenomenal job at managing those resources, which again, another plug for the cost cutting discussion. Like it, not trying to just like suck up to Richard, but like that was a big deal that we focused on for a long time, for many months. last year and are still focused on a little bit this year. And improving the experience for members to increase the membership revenue. Okay. All right. Let me wrap that up and say, like, I would love, I mean, with unlimited resources, I would hire a ton, and I would I would boost our performance just by throwing more resources at the product. But at the end of the day, like, we do have limited resources, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Okay. Why the startup graph 0 starts very high? What's the bottom of it indicate? Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. He missed Tony's profitability announcement in keynote. Was it 6 a.m. for West Coast? Did that happen? That's cool. If so, if not, what a tease. Um, anyways, why the startup graph 0 starts very high? What's the bottom of it indicate? It's very high because Medium has never ever been profitable before, possibly Tony's keynote. I don't know. But like when Medium started, it was purely funded by venture capital. There was no subscription revenue, as far as I understand. And so this negative here was the venture capital required to just get Medium off the ground. It probably is more accurate to be like that. Like Medium launched, then it grew, and then we started making money. But it, like, we have been negative forever. There was another thing that I missed. The Medium developer API was discontinued. Are you planning to revisit this sometime in the future? Yep. Way future. Not right now. What is your biggest learning that you would like to share as a staff software engineer for other aspiring senior staff software engineers? This, like, I mean, I don't know, so many things. At least from this presentation, like the focus on, like, yes, you're a technical professional, and yes, like, the programming that you do is important, but it's important because you're building a product, and like the product that we're building is a consumer facing product that impacts the world in a very specific way, and it's important to understand that product and where you fit into it. So like this discussion around profitability is relevant to engineers, and I think that uh, as like a senior or a more professional engineer, you should be able to understand uh, like where the company is and where the product is, as well as like how you directly fit into that. And that requires more than just understanding like proper syntax and when to, perform switch statements versus polymorphism. Like that, it requires a lot more right brain thinking. And I think that's really undervalued. Uh, how do you get that? Read books, and not just like nerdy, like refactoring books, which I love those books, but also like uh, other books written by software engineers that have come before you that are more about leadership and about product development. Those exercise your right brain in the context of software engineering, which is a rarer thing than I wish it was. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll give one moment for any last questions. But other than that, where's my stuff at? Here it is. Okay. Other than that, thank you very much for watching me stumble through that. Last question. Any books you recommend that you're reading now? I just finished The Mythical Man Month, uh, which I think it originally came out like 1975. Super relevant for today. A little bit old fashioned in some of the language in there, but again, like super relevant. Brooks Law came from The Mythical Man Month. Um, Also, Durable Teams actually is expounded on a ton in Inspired by Marty Kagan. Um, so those two books, let me actually write that down right here. Books to read. Mythical Man Month and Inspired, Marty Kagan. Yeah, there you go. That is 100% like I would absolutely recommend these two. Have you considered standing up a journal club in the engineering department at Medium, or do you already have one? Oh, that's a bitter comment. I we started a book club, uh, and it I let me rephrase that. I started a book club, and it has died. That's something that I would love to see, but I don't I don't know the best way to do that. I wouldn't say that I'm like great book club leader. So, but that I appreciate the input because I actually would love something like that. Okay. All right, guys. If you have any more input, I my DMs are open on LinkedIn. You can of course tag me in anything on Medium. Um and yeah, the recording is available later. I think almost immediately after this presentation. So you can, I mean, you can watch me stumble through it as many times as you want, I guess. Um, and yeah, thanks so much again, and enjoy the rest of Medium Day.